Hey bitches.
Hey bitches.
I'm Joey.
I'm Ashley.
And welcome to
One Time
Mystery.
What a mystery. I'm back.
Where have you been?
I've been sick.
Oh yeah.
If you can't tell, I still sound like a man, but I'm better.
Are you?
Yeah. Thanks for holding down the fort, you bitch.
Well, you're welcome. Someone had to.
Shady bitch.
Who else was going to do it?
Yeah. So, if you haven't checked it out already, Mr. Voodoo did his own little ep, which I fucking love. Tried to not swear there.
2 seconds in.
Too much, and 2 seconds in, I'm already swearing. I loved it so much, even though I was a bit upset about it. Not really. What was your ep called?
Were you upset about it?
No. Your face.
Don't be playing these games with my heart.
No, I just love.
Frickin' heck.
I'm very good at giving shit to Joe.
And I'm gullible
Yeah.
and sensitive, so I'm like, did I hurt your feelings?
No.
God, it needs to toughen up. The episode I did was called The Black Monk of Pontefract.
I think you should do it again sometime soon. I really enjoyed it. Like, whether you do, I don't know, maybe another
haunting.
Yeah.
Maybe some cryptozoology.
Oh.
Or wives' tales or something.
Bit of Joey time. I really enjoyed it.
Welcome to Voodoo Corner.
Oh.
Maybe.
Let's get that to catch on.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell everybody.
Tell everybody.
Well, I thought it was amazing.
Thank you.
I loved it.
It was kind of strange sitting here doing it by myself, so.
And you still shaded me, which was great.
It's never going to stop.
Yeah, I hope not.
So.
That's how I like it.
You're welcome.
Well, it's my turn now, bitches. It's my time.
Ooh, and what are we doing this week?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Well, maybe I'll tell you. So we are going to, and by we, I mean me, going to dive into Katherine Mary Knight, who was also known as the female Hannibal Lecter, or as we like to call her, Katherine Mary Bitch Tits Knight. She was born 24th of October. That...
Squeeze me?
Yeah. Does that date sound familiar at all?
Well, first of all, that's my exact birthday.
24th of October. You share your birthday with Bitch Tits Knight.
Oh, yuck.
You're so welcome. Except she was born in 1955, which...
Oh, just a few years older than me.
You are not, so you're fine. She was born to old Babs Rohan. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Who was married to Jack Rohan, and they lived in a small town called Aberdeen in New South Wales, Hunter Valley.
Aberdeen. I love that name.
Aberdeen. I really like it too. Every time I had to write it down, when I did my research, I was like, Aberdeen. So Babs and Jack had 4 sons before she decided to stray and get a little something from a man named Ken Knight, who, get this, so shady, was a friend and co-worker of her husband.
You hear that happen a fair bit, hey?
Do you want to know what I wrote in my notes after that?
What?
Ooh, girl.
Ooh, girl.
Ooh, girl.
She was just messy.
Yeah, you don't do that. Just don't do that. So this town was pretty conservative and had a population of around 1,500 people. So what does that mean? Everyone knew everyone. And both families, the Rowans and the Knights, were known around town. So this little affair was quite the scandal. Given a lot of backlash, obviously, with the scandal, because everyone up in everybody business. I just love looking at your face. You're like, are you okay?
What's she doing?
She just living her best life over here.
Would you ever live in a small town like that, do you reckon?
The only way I would live in a small town is if I lived on a property and I could have lots of animals and horses, because, you know, I love horses.
I'll be moving in, so.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could have a property and we've got like a couple of houses on it and we can just have people we like live on the property, but a little bit away so it's not too far.
Well, we'll own acreage for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Ken and Barbara moved to Moree, which is about 4 hours north of Aberdeen because of all the shit that was going on. They were getting a lot of backlash. Her 4 sons did not move with her. The 2 older boys stayed with their father while the 2 young sons were sent to be raised by an aunt in Sydney, which I find a bit weird. But yeah, it's not something that normally happens, I guess, like the mother not taking, the children with her, staying with her dad. So Babs had an additional 4 children with Ken, including twin girls, one of them being Katherine. Old Kathy.
Old Kathy.
In 1959, Jack Rowan died, and his 2 sons that were living with him went to live with Barbara and Ken. Ken was unfortunately an alcoholic who openly used violence and intimidation to rape Barbara up to 10 times a day.
10 times a day.
Yeah. If that wasn't bad enough, Barbara would then tell her daughters intimate details about her sex life and how much she hated sex and men. I couldn't find how old they were at the time, but that is not something you share with your kids. Like, you don't sit down and be like, intimate details of your sex life.
No.
Rape, obviously, it's a whole new story, but like, shit, if they're young, you don't, go see someone.
I don't think, unless it's an educational conversation that you're having with how they should behave, if something like that happens, that's not a conversation you have with your kids, full stop.
100%, yeah. It was noted that Knight had complained to her mother once about a partner that wanted to take part in a sex act. Couldn't actually find what the sex act was, because when you say sex act, you're like, was he trying to do something freaky-deaky?
No, I think he was trying to put it in the butt.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I was kind of thinking BJ. Anyway, it was an act she didn't want to do. Her mother told her to put up with it and stop complaining. As you do.
Sound advice, Mum.
Yeah. Also super sad, Knight claims she was also frequently assaulted by several members of her family as a child, which I found interesting because they also noted that it was not her father. Like, in every article I found, it didn't actually tell you which family members, but they were sure to point out that it wasn't her dad.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere, I don't know where it was, that it was her stepbrother or half-brother.
Oh, interesting, yeah, because I couldn't find that. That's very interesting. Sad, obviously.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and it continued until she was about 11. She attended Musselbrook High School, where she was known for being a loner, but also a bully to smaller children. I even found reports of her assaulting a boy with a weapon, and even being injured by a teacher who was acting in self-defense. Another interesting thing, outside of her rage, she was actually a model student, and apparently would receive awards for her good behaviour, which super interesting given what we just said before. She left school at 15 without learning how to read or write. It was noted she had her first job as a cutter at a clothing factory before eventually getting what she said was her dream job at the abattoir, or slaughterhouse, as some might say. The abattoir was the main source of employment in Aberdeen, so everyone kind of went there after school as a job, whatever. She started out in a cleaning role, which would entail mopping pools of blood from the floor, removing and disposing of carcasses, and also handling animal flesh. Kathy impressed her co-workers so much that she was promoted within a few months to having the role of boning and slicing carcasses. I'm sorry, but I just could not work in an abattoir at all. Like, poor animals. So with her promotion, she was gifted her own set of long-bladed butcher's knives. Most workers left their knives at work, as you do, because, that's where you need to keep them. But not old Kathy. She would take them home to admire and clean them each night, and even had them above her bed while sleeping, like resting up above her bed.
Wouldn't you be worried they're going to fall?
Yeah.
On your head?
Yeah. No, thank you.
Mm-mm.
Her co-workers said that her knife skills were impressive, and they were actually a bit shocked because they said she would be so precise on a bad day and exquisite on a good day. So even if she was having her bad day, her knife skills were still good.
Like a cut above the wrist.
Yeah.
Excuse the...
Look at that little pun you just threw in there. Kathy also enjoyed her job and loved watching the pigs get slaughtered. No, thank you. So now I don't want to go into too much detail with her prior relationships. However, I did find it a bit hard not to, especially with one of them. So I'll give you a rundown of who and the crazy shit that happened when she dated them, because she's freaking crazy. But before I do, I just wanted to have a little one time about myself, because it actually makes me sad that men aren't taken seriously when they're abused by a woman. Like, when I was researching this case, it literally, I hate to swear because I wanted to try and cut my swearing down. It pissed me off. Like, I feel like even to this day, it is seen as men are weak for, one, reporting, and two, not doing anything to stop it. Like, oh, you're not tough enough, your girlfriend's bashing you up.
Or they're just not believed.
Yeah, which is so sad.
Yeah.
Like, you switch that and a female getting abused, you don't even need evidence. Like, women nowadays can go and say, oh, he hit me and he didn't.
Like, something kind of controversial, and I'll keep it brief.
Yeah.
The situation currently happening with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yes.
And how there was no evidence to prove that he's done any of this stuff. And there's recordings and there's SMSs, there's all that kind of stuff that prove that she has, but people are believing her in court.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And what would happen if they went to defend themselves? Oh, you shouldn't put your hands on a woman. So, okay, just take the beating. Like, I'm sorry, it pisses me off and it's not fair. So, that's all of my little wine time. I'm sorry. I know it's a big subject, but it pissed me off.
Now leaving Wine Time University.
So, her first partner was David Kellett. And before I jump in, you really need to have a little Google now of his picture, because he just looked like the sweetest man. Like, there's this one photo I saw of him and her, and he's got just like a little bowl looking haircut, and he just kind of looks all prim and proper, and then you've got old bitch tits standing next to him. But
How do you spell his surname?
so the surname is Kellet.
Oh.
Right? Like, you look at him and you're like, oh, sweetie.
I mean, I'm sorry, but your haircut is ugly as hell.
I know, but it still makes him kind of look cute. And you're like, oh.
He just looks innocent.
Yeah, which is super sad. They met in 1973, and he was known as a heavy drinker, and married in 1974. Now, this is just some of the stuff that went down with them, which is just going to blow your mind. So, at their wedding, Kathy's mother said to Kellett, "You better watch this one or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her," as in cheating on her. "She'll fucking kill you." Now, if that ain't a sign to run, that your soon-to-be mother-in-law is saying that shit, I don't know what is.
That's not a red flag, that's a foghorn.
Yeah, that's a get out.
Get out, boy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
On their wedding night, she strangled him because he fell asleep after only having sex with her 3 times. Yes.
I had to be TMI. I've never done it more than once in a row. I'm one and done. Like, I'm going to sleep now.
But, like, 3 times on your wedding night?
And it's not enough?
Yeah. So you strangle your husband. Why? So she fell pregnant with his child, and while pregnant, she lost her shit. Burned all his clothes, hit him in the head with a freaking frying pan because he came home late from a darts competition, and she actually ended up fracturing his skull.
Was that the earliest form of, what was that game, Player Unknown?
Oh, yeah.
Where they
with the thing. Yeah, like, totally not funny that she hit him in the head with an object.
Not funny at all.
But this bitch freaking hit him in the head with a frying pan. Like, that's out of a cartoon. I'm sorry, that ain't real. Like, how does that happen?
Do we know if it was like a cast iron skillet or if it was...
The cast iron skillet? I don't know. It was a pan.
Okay.
It was a frying pan. What's a cast iron skillet?
They're like the really heavy ones.
It was a pan. I don't know what a skillet is. For some reason, my head straight away to blah, blah, blah. I went straight to Skrillex. That's how, yeah.
Did she hit him with Skrillex?
Yes. Shortly after their daughter was born, Kellett left crazy old Kathy for another woman. Don't do that.
Did she hit him with Skrillex? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Back to you.
Yeah, he left her for another woman and moved to Queensland. So all I could find was that he left her for another woman. Obviously, he was cheating on her. Like, you don't just up and leave and move with some random...
Do you blame him?
God, no. But yeah, I couldn't actually find any concrete info to say how long he was cheating on her for or what the whole backstory is on that. But once David left, she did a stint in hospital for 7 weeks due to postnatal depression, which sucks. I've had that before.
Yeah, that's not easy.
It's not a good time and you need to reach out, but it doesn't mean you do the things that she did. So she was released, and straight after she was released, she went and placed her now 2-month-old on a railway track before a train was due. So she placed her pretty much newborn baby on the train tracks. She then went into town, stole an axe, and threatened to kill several people. Luckily, a man foraging near the railway line found and rescued Melissa minutes before the train came. Kathy was arrested and taken back to hospital, but somehow, such a miracle, all her problems had gone overnight and she signed herself out the next day. A few days later, Knight then slashed the woman of a face. The face of a woman. The woman with a face. With one of her knives, and demanded she drive her to Queensland to find Kellett so that she could kill him. Now, this woman, I found conflicting reports. It said that she had a car full of kids with her. Other reports said she was alone, but she did manage to get away, which is the good thing.
Is she the one that ended up going to like a servo?
Yes.
And hiding out the back?
And that's what I was going to say. The only reason she got away was because Katherine held a boy hostage. But yeah, I actually couldn't find the info to say that it was like her child or whatever. But it did say, you know, she ran away because they stopped in at a servo. Or a service station, for any of you other listeners
if you're not from Australia.
We like to put O's on everything. Yeah. Bevo, Catho, Servo.
Yeah. Doggo.
Garbo.
Yeah.
Kathy also threatened to kill the mechanic that fixed David's car, because apparently his car was broken and she believes that he fixed it so that he could get away from her. So she was going to kill him. Crazy. So the police did inform David about all the crazy stuff that was happening. And this makes me so mad. He ended up leaving his girlfriend and moving back to Aberdeen to support Kathy and have her released in his care. They then moved to Ipswich.
Old Ippy.
West of a city. Our city, to be exact. Brisbane. And got a job at the Dinmore Meatworks. In 1983, they had another daughter, Natasha Marie. And in 1984, get this, Knight, surprisingly, left Kellett and focused on her work. She did end up hurting her back a year later, which meant an end to her dream job, and I guess her outlet in a way, with loving the whole slaughtering animals and using knives. So yeah, even though he came back to look after her, she was like, no, thank you. I might just move on.
That doesn't make sense though. Like she... Yeah. Apparently at knife point forced these people, right? From what you were saying to... Or at least this lady with the face, to go and find this guy to kill him. And then he, like an idiot, goes to her, and then she's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want you anymore, that's fine. Like, she fully did all of this stuff, obviously to get his attention, and then she's just like, meh, we're done now. So her next partner was David Saunders. So David was a minor. They met in 1986, 2 years after.
My birth year.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Thanks.
You're a bit older. Sorry. So a few months in, he moved in with Kathy and her daughters, but was smart enough to still keep his apartment, which, of course, did that go down well with Kathy? I mean, surely he had vibes. Like, you've moved in with someone, normally you'd kind of leave your old place. So yeah, she would get super jealous about David going/having his apartment. Like, I'm talking full paranoia. This one's gonna hurt a little bit, Joey, so just a heads up. She decided to warn Saunders that if he ever had an affair that she would hurt him. To show this, she slit the throat of his 2-month-old dingo puppy. And I'm gonna swear here, the fucking fuck piece of shit. You fuck. I'm sorry. But hurting animals, obviously hurting people.
I think this is beyond... She killed it, right?
She slit its throat.
She killed the puppy.
A little dingo puppy.
And those things are so cute.
Yeah. It made me really sad. Like, don't hurt the puppy. Oh, And then what else do you think she did next? She freaking hit Saunders in the head with...
a frying pan.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at
like, does this bitch just walk around with a fucking frying pan in her back pocket?
Yeah.
Oh my god, jinx. Like, this Susan, I mean, would she be a Susan or a Sheila? Because the whole knives and a bit of the manly-esque.
You call me Sassy Susan, so I'd rather not have an association.
Yeah, I feel like she's more of a Sheila.
She's more of a Sheila.
Like Sheila.
Yeah.
Anyway, this Sheila, even though she's scary as hell, goes around hitting people in the head with frying pans. Like, you are crazy. You crazy.
You're full nutso.
So he didn't leave after this, which I get. Like, the whole cycle of abuse, you know, they think they'll change. But come on, man. She slit the throat of your puppy. She's not mucking around. Get the fuck out, is what I want to say. So in June 1988, she gave birth to a third daughter named Sarah. David and herself brought a house together, and they lived happily ever after. No, they didn't. Yeah, they definitely didn't.
I'm sitting here shaking
my
head.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, that's not how it can't end like
I was writing out my notes, and I was like, and they lived happily ever after.
Wouldn't it be nice if that's actually how it ended?
Yeah. Oh, even though she slit the throat of your dog.
But I mean, let's say she was reformed, and she found God. Sorry. She was reformed and she became nice and she started doing charity and then she brought the puppo back to life and then
by stitching up his throat and
praying over his dead body and then no, too much? Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just going to sit over here and shut up.
I just said she stitched up the throat of a dead, like...
You did.
It's bad.
That's pretty morbid.
I'm disgusting. So yeah, they didn't live happily ever after. She actually decorated her house with animal skins, skulls, horns, rusty old traps. Oh, girl. And machetes. Did you get that? Rusty old traps.
Yeah, that was my nickname in prison.
Oh. I love it. So she just had shit everywhere. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people like to keep, you know, little skulls, stuff like that. But when you start stabbing and slitting throats, it's a bit...
Yeah, before that part, it almost sounds like what a hunter does, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she seems like a hunter. Maybe she should have did a bit of hunting in her spare time. Maybe she wouldn't have gone so crazy. So David didn't like this, and it resulted in an argument because he just was not a fan of her decor. Look at me using fancy words. She ended up hitting him in the face with an iron this time, and then stabbed him in the stomach with a pair of scissors because they had an argument. Because that's just what you do.
Do we know what it was about?
Well, to me it sounded like because of the way that she was decorating the house, and obviously there's going to be other shit happening. Like, you don't just... I don't know, maybe it was a touching point and they'd kind of spoken about it a few times. And so, after that, he got the frick out and went back to his home in Scone. Yes, that's a place.
Scone.
It's about a 15-minute drive from Aberdeen. So anyway, he eventually goes back to grab his stuff from Kathy's in his place. But Kathy decided to cut up all of his clothes because she's a psycho. But yeah, I hate that she's so violent towards all her partners. And it's frustrating that you don't... Like, I couldn't find anything of them filing reports against her or anything like that. It's like they just took it on the chin, like, oh, she's crazy. That's not crazy, that's psychotic. So Saunders got the frick out of there, took long service leave from his work and went into hiding. Like, go to the police, you poor thing. Like, you've taken long service leave that you've frickin' worked hard for just to hide from some crazy.
And it's so surprising that all of these things you hear about her, including her stint in, you know, the nut house and no charges, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's
like,
crazy.
And how does she still have kids?
How does she still have children?
Without having them taken off her. I do not understand. So Knight went looking for him, and she was obviously unsuccessful. Thank frick. He did, however, return to see his daughter. First of all, why would you leave your daughter? With that crazy ass. Like, just don't do that. Anyway, he found out that Knight had actually gone and got an AVO against him because she told police she was afraid of him. And in my notes I put, I'm sorry, but what, Kent? What? So her next relationship, I swear she dated more men than me, was John Chillingworth. Fancy name.
Fancy.
So fancy. So this was in 1997, and guess what? She had another child.
Oh my god, she needs to plug it up.
Yeah. I would say close them, but she obviously likes to have sex, but...
A lot.
Use something. Pull out. Sit on top. Gravity.
Use a sponge.
Did you just say...
Gravity.
Gravity. This time it was a son, her first son, who they named Eric. This relationship lasted 3 years, and I actually couldn't find any violence that had happened between them, just that it ended after he found out Knight was cheating on him with a man called John Price. So let's get into the final partner. Yeah.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do.
Can we just end it here and then...
No. Yeah, no. So, John Charles Thomas Price was born 4th of April 1955. He was a divorced father of 3. However, he had an amazing relationship with his ex-wife, Colleen. He was said to have a good nature, which is weird because he knew about Kathy and her reputation and violent past. Super weird. So, his 2-year-old daughter lived with the mother, and the 2 older children lived with their dad. And it was said they got along with Kathy. Super interesting. I tried to look in a bit more to find out how the older children were, but I couldn't find anything. So maybe, given they were children at the time, it was kind of hidden. I'm not 100% sure. So in 1998, Kathy had a fight with Price because he didn't want to marry her. I mean, same. I would not want to marry her either. So, like she always did... So, as always, she acted out and videotaped and sent to his work a video showing medical items that he had allegedly stole. I found out they were actually out-of-date medical kits that had been thrown out in the bin. Kind of just went digging around in his work. Which, I get it, you're not meant to do, but shit, they're out of date.
And they're, as far as the company was concerned, they're trash, so...
Yeah, they're in the bin. So, of course, Price was fired, and he was there for 17 years.
And you're fired for taking rubbish.
For that, and also because this bitch just had a little bitch fit and got you fired.
She was doing the most.
So, good news, he kicked her ass out of his home. And news spread fast because gossipy town. You ready to be shocked?
No.
They got back together.
Ugh.
But this time, Kathy wasn't allowed to move back into his house. So, of course, she didn't like that, and things started to become violent. And surprisingly, spoiler alert, she murders John. Before this happened, about 5 weeks earlier, she was said to have called her dad saying, "I'm going to kill Pricey." Before the murder, there were reports of her stabbing him in the chest as well. So the stabbing occurred in February 2000, and on the 29th of Feb, on his way to work, he went and got a restraining order out on Knight in an attempt to protect himself and his children. That's so sad, but good on you for actually trying to do something. Now, I couldn't find anything to say they had separated, which was weird because you don't go and get a restraining order on someone you're still with.
You don't get stabbed and then file a restraining order and then stay with someone.
Unless she kind of thought, oh, it's just another fight, even though I stabbed him. And then maybe before he went to break up with her, he's like, let's go get a restraining order. He did this on his way to work.
Listen, she must have had some type of Gucci Poochie because she was able to talk herself back into these relationships quick sticks, girl.
Yeah, she must have had some good...
puss.
Anyway, once he went into work after getting the restraining order, he was quoted as telling his co-workers that afternoon that if he doesn't make it to work the next day, she's killed him.
He told them that.
He told his co-workers. So he's gone, got a restraining order, gone into work, told his co-workers, hey, if I'm not in tomorrow, she's freaking killed me.
Here's why.
Yeah. So they pleaded for him to not return home, but he was afraid she would kill his children if he didn't. So he came home. She wasn't there. The kids had also been sent off to a sleepover, thank God. So he went and hung out with his neighbours before returning home around 11 p.m. Now we get to the gruesome part, so grip your nips.
And steady your hips.
You're saying that with your eyes closed.
I am. It doesn't help because I can still hear you, but...
If I close my eyes, I can't hear you. So Knight arrived at his house later that night while he was sleeping. She apparently watched TV for a bit before having a shower and putting on some sexy lingerie she had bought that day. She woke him up to have sex with him, and then he went back to sleep. She was quoted as telling investigators, "He wanted sex, so he had it. He was gentle and kind, and after he went to the toilet, he was walking back to bed, and that's it." As I said before, Price had fallen asleep, and he woke up. I can't even imagine. He woke up to her stabbing him repeatedly with a butcher knife that she kept next to her bed, as I mentioned earlier. So this poor guy has just had sex. She's wearing some nice-ass lingerie, as nice as she can look in lingerie. If you've seen a pic of
was
her.
it actually nice?
Who knows? Gone back to sleep, after having a bit of pleasure, and then wakes up to her stabbing him. She stabbed him a total of 37 times. There was a photo online that I found where it kind of points out the whole murder scene and what had happened. He attempted to escape by going down the hallway to the door, where he managed to open it and get outside. But he either passed out from his wounds or was dragged back in by Kathy, where he later died after bleeding out. Now, the photos I found, there is blood everywhere. And
she stabbed him over 30 times. There's bound to be blood everywhere.
Yeah, but it also makes me think, if he was stabbed in the back, was she chasing him down the hallway and still stabbing him as he's trying to get away? Because, obviously he's stabbed in the front because he's laying down asleep, but then to be stabbed in the back as well, this poor guy, it's just horrific. So yeah, he later died after bleeding out. Kathy then went into town and withdrew $1,000 from his account at an ATM. It's reported that several hours after he died, Knight dragged Price's body into the lounge room or the living area, and with the precision of an expert meat cutter, she carefully skinned his body. New South Wales Supreme Court Justice O'Keefe commented, "It was carried out with considerable expertise and obviously a steady hand, so that his skin, including that of the head, face, nose, ears, neck, torso, genital and legs, were removed so as to form one pelt." So it was literally not bits and pieces here and there, it was just one full pelt. She hung his skin on a metal hook that was in the lounge room. So it was in the lounge room, but in an archway leading to the dining area.
So it was displayed?
Yeah, hanging in the middle. She then removed Price's head with the same precision and cut meat off him. I heard it was from his butt, and she sliced it into steak pieces and cooked it in the oven.
So rump steak?
Yeah, literally. You're so not happy at yourself for making that joke, but you're just your face, I'm sorry. This is totally not funny at all. I'm just a terrible person and laughing at Joe's face while he's listening to the gross.
She gets sick pleasure out of how much I hate the gruesome details of these things.
And I'm just this happened and this happened. She served his meat up with vegetables and gravy on 2 plates that had a note on either side of each plate with Price's children's name on it. Another meal was also found to be thrown in the backyard. They believed Knight may have tried to eat it but couldn't go through with it, so threw it out the back or threw it out for the animals to get. In the reports as well, I found super weird, so many places actually listed and detailed the vegetables that she served it up with. I was why does that matter? She served it with this and this and this. No.
It just makes it so much worse when you personify the meal with his meat. And
yes.
Oy, oy.
Doesn't get any better. His head was also found in a pot on the stove and was still pretty warm, sitting around 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, which made police think she had done this somewhere early in the morning to serve it to the children once they got home. She had also arranged his body with his left arm draping over an empty bottle of soft drink and his legs in a crossed position. Now, keep in mind, this body no longer had a head or skin.
So she staged the body?
Yeah.
To look like it's just chilling?
Yeah, with no head, no skin. Just...
But soft drink?
But a soft drink. Yeah, it's disgusting. She also wrote a note that was covered in bloodstains and tiny pieces of flesh, and it read, "Time got you back, Jonathan, for raping my daughter. You to be for Ross, for Little John. Now play with Little John's dick, John Price." They found the note was bullshit anyway. Like, the accusations of him raping her daughter were not legit. And I'm not making fun of people who can't read or write, but bitch, what the fuck are you going on about?
This bitch was illiterate.
Yeah. When Price didn't arrive at work the next morning, his co-workers, obviously worried, especially after what had been said the day before, went to check on him. They saw blood on the front door handle and contacted police straight away. The officers that arrived at the scene that morning would never be the same again, and even some of them left the force just days later. Like, can you imagine walking in on that? You're trained for this, and to see a bit of blood, it's like, okay, maybe this is just a murder scene.
No.
Yeah.
Nope, not doing it.
So Detective Sergeant Bob Wells, who still talks about how hard it is to remove those images from his head, was at Singleton when he got the call, which was about an hour south of Aberdeen. He was stated as saying, "We just took off from Singleton up to Aberdeen, and obviously we were briefed outside, but with that many years' experience, it was just another job to start with." He remembers a younger officer outside telling him it was too much for him. Like, that's so sad. Like, that's your job, and to walk in and find something so horrific, I can't. Bob said he had never seen anything like it, and even said it was professionally done too. So with the skinning and everything like that.
I guess they could also say that it was, like, just in my mind anyway, someone who was obviously, in their mind, insane but coherent, right?
Yeah, like they knew what they were doing. They also found Knight passed out next to the body after swallowing pills, I guess in an attempt to kill herself. The police immediately detained her. It was also noted for this case that there are actually 3 tapes out there of the crime scene that have been deemed never to be released to the public. So it was a whole 3 days before Knight was deemed fit to be interviewed by Sergeant Wells. She denied being able to remember killing Price or the horror that happened after. I'm sorry, but bullshit. To this day, she still claims she has no recollection. The sergeant said he was pretty good at calling bullshit, and it just seemed like she didn't want to give herself up. So in October 2001, the trial commenced, and of course she pleaded not guilty, but surprisingly later changed her plea to guilty, and the judge adjourned the case without testimony. During sentencing, the judge said the last minutes of his life must have been a time of abject terror for him, as they were a time of utter enjoyment for her. The judge observed Knight was an ongoing risk to the community, and he found that the only appropriate penalty for the prisoner is life imprisonment, and that parole should never be considered for her. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and her file is marked as never to be released. This made her the first Australian woman to ever receive this punishment. Oh, and not so fun fact, in June 2006, she appealed the life sentence, get this, because she claimed the penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole was too severe for the killing. I'm sorry, you skinned, cooked, and tried to serve your partner up to his children.
And then tried to bitch out of it by a really sloppy suicide attempt.
Yeah, like, no. This, of course, was denied. Thank God. So, Katherine Knight, sadly, is still alive. She's now around 66 years old and is at the Silverwater Women's Correctional Centre, west of Sydney, where I found she is popular with the inmates and known as the Nana/Peacemaker. Fuck you, Katherine Bitch Tits Knight.
Yeah, no thanks.
That's all I've got to say to you.
Ugh.
That was my wild little ride of Katherine Bitch Tits Knight.
And see, it's interesting that it can still have such a big impact and not be like a serial killer, right? Like someone who just does one. She did a number of terrible things to people, and she was violent, and she was a bad mother.
Yeah.
But she murdered one person. It just turns out that that murder was quite significant.
Yeah, like that's huge to do that. Yeah,
That's
that was
too
a
much.
wild ride. And interesting, like being from Australia, obviously us two, I'd never actually heard of that story before until I heard it on Morbid. And I was
Same.
like, wait, this is an Australian person?
Yeah.
Like, what?
I kind of feel like they did us a little dirty though. Like they
Yeah.
literally looked for the worst people that they could possibly find. It wasn't just one person who hit
Yeah.
someone by a car. Not that
No.
that's okay, but they found like necrophiliacs
Yeah.
and cannibals. And, ugh.
Yeah, so welcome to, well, not welcome, but
Welcome to Australia.
hope you, yeah, welcome to Australia. Katherine Knight.
I mean, I guess we're no better though. The first two people we choose
Yeah.
from Australia are probably the most notorious ones so far.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, what a wild ride that was. Well, on that note,
Have a lovely day.
yeah, why don't you follow us on our platforms?
And that would be Instagram and TikTok. Just search for Whine Time Mysteries or drop us an email. Let us know what kind of true crime you would like us to talk about.
Yeah. Give us some ideas.
Yeah, give us some ideas. We really are going to eventually move into less known things. It's just harder to
100%.
research them, but it would be super cool if you dropped something to us and if you maybe added us to your playlist on Spotify. And
That'd be real great. You should do that.
I mean, we'd like that.
Yeah, I'd like
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
But on that note,
Bye,
I think-
bitches.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah, see ya.
I was gonna say I'm about to go wash my ears out, but bye's fine.
I'm just going to go wash all me holes out.
Yeah, all of them that have been crying, they're getting washed out.
All me crying holes.
Yeah, thanks.
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye.